All right, so I'm going to show you how to get as much damage as possible on your marks to hopefully help you one hit and thus helping your farming and your meso farming, your EXP grinding, your node stones, all that good stuff. So besides the most, actually first, let's talk about the skill. We're talking about actually this mark. Of course, as you level up and go through these job changes, you're going to get some upgrades. But this is the one we're going to look at. So in, I believe, the Survivors patch, they're going to buff this as long as you're below level 275 or 285. So no matter what, these are going to be doing a lot more damage once that new patch comes through. Um, so that being mentioned, this is what we're focused on. We want this to one hit because then you can start clearing way up here on your map while you're down here. And that does help drastically. Unfortunately, later on, when your marks just cannot one hit, that's kind of where it falls off, and that's a huge downfall to NightLords. Later on, you just have to be unrealistically strong to one hit and farm as efficiently as other classes. But that's okay. Anyway, so yeah, let's get straight to it. So nodes is number one, the biggest priority. This increases your final damage by up to 120% on your marks. On top of that, it also gives you an extra 5% crit rate, which as a NightLord, you don't typically need more crit rate, but it gives you 20% IED. Not that essential, but that little bit helps. Because remember, we're going to need to juice out as much damage as we can for these marks to one hit. Um, so yeah, 60, get your 2 tri-nodes for quad, showdown, mark, quad, showdown, mark. Always keep those on. There's no reason to take those off. Number two, I guess while we're here, we can address this one. Maple Goddess. Now, if you absolutely need to, this is nice. The only problem I have with it is I don't believe, I could be mistaken, but I don't believe it has 100% uptime. Um, I forget. Oh, okay. No, it is, I don't think it is 100% uptime. It might be 66% uptime. I, I don't like relying on this. I would rather just not have to stress out about it. Even if you have it on your pet skills, I don't know. So anyway, combat orders, really useful. Because if we enable that, we will see that this goes up by 1, right? So if we go back to this, we see it's a 62% chance, 63 damage, 60%, 60%. That little bit will absolutely help you a ton. You only need it level 1. Um, and I guess while we're here, I recommend having all of these on your pet skills if you have your pet skills. Um, you kind of can't do without any of these. I mean, this one you can rotate out for something else, but because it's such a long cooldown or a long uptime, so I don't know. But these seem best fit. Anyway, going to our damage. Um, first, oops, I guess second, let's go to your items. When you start getting into the higher levels and you start farming, I wouldn't touch your weapon at all. Maybe if you are struggling through it and you can't find carries for now until they get rid of them, maybe get 2 lines of attack on a weapon. Don't worry about boss, don't worry about IED, just get your percent attack. If you get percent damage too, that's actually quite helpful. Percent damage does help for normal mods a lot, but not for bosses as much as you would like. Um, but yeah, regardless, try and get 2 lines of attack on each your weapon, your secondary, and your emblem. Um, of course, make sure the legendary. Don't be lazy. Just spend the extra bit. At least get these up to get a total of 2 lines at least on this, 2 lines at least on that. Technically, while we're here speaking about min-maxing your damage, you can go for the Pinot or Princess No secondary just to get a little bit more than this. Um, 6 stat, 6 stat 4 weapon attack. So it's not much, but it helps. So this is definitely a good starting point. Also for this, I don't think you can get percent damage on your emblem, but most of the time you can't get more than one emblem unless there's an event going on anyway. So just stick to 2 lines on that. 2 lines on this. If you get 2 lines of attack and like 1 line of damage, that's ideal, or 3 lines of attack if you're lucky. So yeah, weapon, secondary, emblem, 2 lines of attack, percent. Gloves, 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 gloves. Um, if you do not have arcane, I would just go for 1 line crit damage, 1 line stat. Um, there's no point in over investing into that until you have arcane gloves, because those are going to stick with you for a good chunk of your expectancy on this game, if not all of it. Now that Kalos is somewhat defeatable, it's worth it. Just invest a ton into this. So remember, 8% crit damage average is about to be 40% stat. So if you get 1 line of attack and 2 lines of stat, that's honestly good enough most of the time. Because if I try rerolling for 2 lines of crit damage, I'll get, technically speaking, 20% more damage, or stat in damage. But I'm going to be spending a lot, because it's ideal to use the black cubes or the, I think it's the glowing one, so when that shows you what you can get, and you can choose whether to stick on the old one or the new set of potentials. But yeah, at least 1% of 1 line of crit damage, 1 line of stat to get you going. Now, with that being said, crit damage is not it's just not effective unless you have 100% crit rate. Like right now, well, it's 85 now because I don't have decent sharp eyes, but I'm strong enough to where I don't need that extra 5%. I don't need the 100% crit rate. I do enough as is to farm where I am farming. If you don't have 100% crit rate, you need to find a way to get that up. I wouldn't rely on familiars. You can definitely throw some here into your... I mean, hell, if I want to now, I can just throw in 5 points into this. I think maybe 4 with 15 points and get that up to 100%. But other ways you can do it, still, I don't recommend it. Other ways you can do it is through Legion. You can throw in a Phantom. Because I think we're at base of, yeah, 75. There's no need to overinvest. We're at a base of 75 crit rate. So a level 2 Phantom Link is, and then one more 10% is good. To get that extra 10%, here's a couple different ways you can do it. Legion blocks. Legion blocks alone. If you get to 250 on your NightLord, that's another 5% for free. And then the other one is Marksman. 4% at 200, 5% at 250, 3% at 140, or 2% at 140. I don't recall exactly. Those are the only 2 crit rates, unfortunately. But yeah, crit rate 100%. 1 line of crit damage on your gloves at least with a line of stat. 2 lines each on emblem, weapon, secondary. Now, arcane symbols. If we go over here, these are going to be one of your bigger impacts on your damage. If you don't know already, let's go to my favorite map ever. Once you are in Arcane or later, you will start seeing these little bars on your maps, underneath your maps. Pretty much, once you reach 100% of the required Arcane power, so for this one's 480, you start dealing the normal amount of damage as you should. When you get to 1.5 times the amount of this, then you start dealing 150% of damage. An extra free 50% of final damage is colossal. Take advantage of that. I know it's annoying. Don't skip your dailies. You're going to regret it later on if you start pushing endgame. Just do it. I know it's miserable. Just do it. What's next? What's next? Okay, let's go to link skills. So for farming, this is what I use. Essential ones will be the Kana level 2, so level 120. Demon Avenger level 2 at least. I got mine to 210. That right there is 25% damage. If we go to Bravado here for the Hoyoung, 14% damage against full health mobs. Pretty good. 4% crit damage. For Kinesis, I mean, the worst class to level up, fight me. but it's worth the 4% crit damage. Laura's pretty nice, 5% base damage, and then up to, what, 11% with stacks? Yeah, you'll have that up all the time, pretty much. Arc is underrated, I guess in like the lower end of like early game, like people don't understand how strong this really is. Arc, 16% damage. I mean, at level 3, 210 Arc, it's great. Tied to the Battle, Ilium is another really good one. That's another 12% damage. This is optional. The Hayato, there we go. This one's alright. You don't necessarily need this one, but I didn't know what else to put there. I could put Pirates here, but I don't think it gives much more than this, if at all. And then Unfair Advantage from Cadena. So if the mob is at lower level than you, you deal 6% more damage, and if it's afflicted by an abnormal status, it's another 6%. I believe, this is me being optimistic, I believe Showdown applies the debuff, quote unquote. However, I'm not sure if the mark does, but either way, 6% for free. It's nice to have. Now let's go to grid, Legion grid blocks. So individually, they all have their own little thing that gives you extra bonuses, boss damage, IED. Really, the main two ones you'd need are Shade level 200, 5 crit damage, and Hayato level 200, 5 crit damage. Rest in peace. But if you have a Jet already, it's worth it to get to 200. Transfer it to another class you don't want to level up for your grid block, your Legion grid. But if you got one, just get it to 200. Take advantage of the last 8 months that we have with 5% crit damage. Sure. And then one that I don't like, but if you're desperate, you can get the Wild Hunter, 20% chance to deal 12% more damage. It's not amazing, but it comes up, I'm sure. Also, I guess this, I'm not sure if this counts for your Dark Flare. I remember doing the test, but I haven't checked. I don't recall, honestly, but you could also get this to 140 to make your Dark Flare last a couple seconds longer, but that's really pushing the min-max. Okay, that's pretty much it. Oh, Legion Grid. So yeah, you got your crit damage over here, but the grid itself gives you a nice chunk of crit damage. That's 20%. That is colossal in terms of damage. Then we have damage against normal enemies. 40%, I believe, with, yeah, if you take care of all that. Now you will need 6,000 Legion. It's either 6,000 or 7,000 to get everything unlocked. But if you want to, hey, if you want to do everything you can to push your marks to one hit as close as they can, you kind of need to get this up to at least 7,000. Because you kind of need this maxed out and you need this maxed out if we're going to really focus in on this. I guess you could also rip from here, put him into attack. Prioritize your luck first, but put him into attack afterward. So we got those. Then Hyperstat. This is a grace. Damage against normal monsters. 47% for level 13. Incredible damage buff. I promise, do it. I mean, I know you know. Just do it. Crit damage again, another 10%. Solid. And I guess, you know, if you have some extra points to just throw away, toss them in here. It's nice to have. Also, you can throw it in here for some extra damage. The luck that you put in here is not multiplied by your stats. It is treated as flat stat increase. It is not affected by percent, like on your potentials. But that's really it. This should cover everything. Oh, I guess the throwing star that you have. I got fancy. I got these for an aesthetic that I don't use anymore. Honestly, the Phantom Forest is such a nightmare to deal with. You can go with Balanced Furies for an extra day or two of dailies over the Crystal Ilbies. The reason I went with this too is for another cosmetic NX outfit I had, but I don't use either of those anymore. Technically, Balanced Fury is the best move, even though it takes a couple, again, a day or two of dailies. I hate admitting it, but it's worth it if you really want to min-max it. God, it's a disaster. I hate it so much. I guess, while we're here too, I swear I have a list of everything written down, but I just keep finding more and more. Extreme Red Pots from Monster Park is really, really helpful. Uh, Greater Blessing of a Guild. Get in a guild. If you're not in a guild already, I don't know what you're doing. You get free bonuses, like 35 attack for free, 12% damage against mobs, 25 Star Force, which will help you get to that 1.5 multiplier. A little bit of base stat. Oh no, I'm sorry. Star Force is different. 30 arcane power. There we go. That's gonna help for your 1.5 multiplier. Little tiny bit of extra EXP. And then these are for bossing, of course. Make sure you do your culverts and your flag if your guild requires it. But yeah, that's basically all I got. Um, Familiars, just get an increase item drop rate by a large amount. The rest is whatever. You can get, let's see if, where is it? There's one that gives, like, attack percent's nice. There are some crit damage ones, but yeah, I don't know. You can aim for these, but I only have one 3% just in case I need a little bit more damage, and it doesn't do more than a 20% IED. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Do whatever you can to get that uh those marks one hitting. I mean, inner ability is another thing, but that's kind of min-maxing even more.